Hello, I'm Keith Whitbazinski with GMDC, and welcome to the Self-Care Learning Session, Winning Self-Care Strategies at Retail. Prior to COVID-19, winning an HBC was a strategic opportunity for retailers and manufacturers. The size of the prize has grown, and identifying winning strategies gained importance as the pandemic resulted in unprecedented demand for HBC products. One of the key drivers was the already emerging self-care movement. Today we have a great group to discuss this over the next about 40 minutes. And joining me are four individuals that I'd like to introduce now. First of all, Lacey Rogers, who's VP of Business Intelligence of Acosta. Welcome, Lacey. Also, Mark Latva, Vice President, Category Management at Food Lion. Mark, welcome. And then Greg Pukas, Head of Sales Strategy and Revenue Growth at Sanofi, and Kelly Straub, Senior Director of Sales and Agency Operations at Sanofi. To kick us off, I will turn it over to Lacey Rogers. Lacey.
Great, thank you, Keith. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. One of the things that we've been doing at Acosta since the start of the pandemic is talking to our shopper community and really understanding what the shopper was thinking and how they were feeling and behaving in this time of uncertainty. And one of the questions that we've asked since the start of March is, how concerned are you about the coronavirus? And what we have found is the level of concern is high. The average concern level of the community as a whole is a 7.7 on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being extremely concerned. And you can see again the concern levels here in September are just as high as they were at the start of the pandemic. Now, yes, individuals have changed their own individual level of concern depending on their personal experiences. Some are more concerned and some are less concerned, but the majority is just as concerned as they were at the beginning of the pandemic. And really that means that as we have heightened levels of concern, we're seeing implications at retail, and we're seeing implications on self-care. And you can see here that since the pandemic started, we had asked, how are you taking care of yourself? Are you more focused on taking care of your mental health, your physical health, mental needs, and diet? And the numbers are high across the board around these indicators of health. Mental health and physical health have emerged to be equal in the level of focus for shoppers. Again, self-care is a blend of mental health and physical health, and we can start to really see that in our shoppers' responses. In addition to asking the question, are you more focused on these areas of health, we have asked our shopper community, what does self-care mean to you? We know self-care was a trend that existed before the pandemic. We are not participating in the first annual GMDC Summit for self-care. This has been something we identified before March as being key. And GMDC has defined self-care as a mindset, a lifestyle that inspires consumers to embrace proactive life choices. And paraphrasing, self-care is a personal objective for individuals aspiring to look good, feel good, and live longer. So when we ask the question, what does self-care mean to you? We do see that variety in personality come through in responses. And focus on healthy eating and nutrition does emerge as number one and the most popular. But you see that blend of focus of mental health as well as actions to take care of physical health. And to illustrate the individuality of self-care, we've put together a wordle of some of the responses we've got from our shopper community as, again, they answered that question, what does self-care mean to you? So again, a variety of meaning to different people. So as shoppers are concerned about the pandemic and they're focused on their health, we have seen implications at retail. And one of the largest ways we've seen this implication is through store traffic. We have heard several times throughout this pandemic that store traffic is down, basket size is high, and a shopping pattern that we have talked about for the past 20 years of cross-channel shopping, choosing your favorite retailers for particular products, is not something that's in the consideration set as shoppers are concerned for their health and limiting their exposure to the virus. And so you could see again some of the channels that have been heavily impacted are drug and mass merch. And we see leading retailers, Walgreens and Walmart, and they have seen that decline in foot traffic since March. And as shoppers are looking again to limit their exposure, they're looking to retailers where they could find as many of their products that they need at home as possible. And the winner in that shopping occasion has been grocery retail. And we could see here that Food Lion has never witnessed a decline in store traffic over the time of the pandemic. And if this data didn't convince you of this decline in store traffic, we did go ahead and ask our shopper community, where have you shopped in the past 4 weeks? And you could see 3 out of 4 shoppers have been shopping at a grocery store. And close behind that, at 60%, shoppers visited a mass merchandiser. Again, that's a high number, but significantly smaller than it was 1 year ago. And you can see, again, the percentages of shoppers attending different retailers get smaller as their product selection becomes less broad and more specialized. And then on the far right, you can see shoppers who have chosen or elected to purchase groceries online. And you can see again, 1 out of 4 has purchased online grocery delivery, and 1 out of 5 has purchased online grocery pickup. So again, we see where we have been, and now looking to the future, we see again the impact we're going to see on the e-commerce and omni-channel. Looking ahead, we recognize there's significant growth in the omni-channel and e-commerce for our categories as well as multiple categories across the board. When we think about self-care, we think about primarily health and beauty care items. And health and beauty care items, due to their shelf-stable nature, have been categories that shoppers have been comfortable to purchase online prior to the pandemic. And in many cases, they have been first movers in that area. When we look at the levels that McKinsey has published on percentage of shoppers purchasing key categories online before the pandemic, the numbers are in the black bars there. You could see, for example, skincare and makeup, 47% of shoppers were comfortable making online purchases in those categories. So again, this is not a new trend for self-care, health and beauty items. But I do want to call your attention to, again, what the future is predicting. And we're predicting that there'll be rapid growth in these key categories. When we're looking at OTC medicine on the top, that's a category that is incredibly important to self-care. And that's a category we're expecting 44% growth coming out of COVID-19. That growth rate is nearly 3 times faster than the average growth rate predicted for other categories. So again, already developed, relatively speaking, and projected to have growth. And again, to complement the data that McKinsey put together, in talking to the Acosta shopper community, we asked the question of them coming out of COVID, where do you expect to purchase some key health and beauty care and self-care items? And you can see these items highlighted in green. There is 25 to 35% of shoppers who believe that they'll make all of their purchases for these categories online. Now, there'll always be a place for brick and mortar because the majority of shoppers still think it's a blend of an in-store pickup or an online purchase, again, accentuating the need to develop an omni-channel strategy for the future. As again, we identify the importance of self-care to our shoppers in our surveys, we ask them the question, where do you get your healthcare information? And we can see that yes, medical professionals are the #1 source of medical information or health information for our shopper community, but we in the CPG industry play a crucial role in providing healthcare information to the shoppers. You could see 30% of shoppers are reading labels on products at the store. This shows that manufacturers have an ability to influence the shopper through healthcare information by what copy they choose to put on their packaging, and retailers also influence by choosing which items they put on the shelf. Other ways that we influence healthcare knowledge and education is information on retailer websites and apps, our pharmacists and stores, and then also POS materials, health information available in stores. Many of us have spent a lot of time and resources and funding in ensuring we have effective POS in stores. And yes, 15% of shoppers are valuing and utilizing these sources of information. And just this week, Walmart announced a partnership with EverFi, which is a social impact education innovator. And they are launching a Safe and Well website. And this Safe and Well website is 100% dedicated to providing shoppers healthcare information. And the information that they're sharing is broad and all encompassing. They have information as how to read a prescription label. They have information on how to identify opioid misuse. And also they have things to help cope in times of uncertainty, as this is a very stressful time for the shopper. In addition to asking where you get your health information, we realized that retailers played that important role. So we asked the shopper, when choosing a retailer as the health source, what is most important to you? And you can see that selling a wide variety of fresh foods and that wide variety of health food is the clear identifying factor that a retailer values the shopper's health and are a valid source in providing health information. So it's really important to ensure that your retailer is providing these produce variety and healthcare or healthy items variety for their shoppers. Now, if your footprint, it doesn't allow for produce, or that's not your business model, such as a drug competitor, you can see that offering a wide variety of OTC healthcare products also identifies a retailer as somebody who values a shopper's health and wellness. We're at an interesting intersection in the CPG world of where shoppers are concerned about their health and their exposure to the virus. And they're limiting the number of places that they visit on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Again, traffic outside of their homes has been greatly reduced. We also see that there is a heightened awareness for their health. And that unique intersection is for stores and retailers to provide their shoppers with their valued healthcare services. And again, we ask the shopper community, what health service are you interested in receiving from your retailer, or have you already tried at your retailer? And you can see the number across the board are relatively high. Again, the more developed areas of service, such as routine eye exams, we see 80% of shoppers have either tried or interested in trying. And then we see some more innovative services that are not practiced for a number of years. And we've seen a lot of introduction of nutritionists and food retailers. And again, the most outside the box I feel is the exercise experience at the retailer. And again, nearly half of shoppers are willing to exercise or do an exercise class at their local retailer. So again, there is demand in the marketplace for retailers to provide services that focus on helping their shopper achieve their self-care goals. At Acosta, we believe in 4 key principles in winning at retail, and they are experience, fundamentals, self-care solutions, and services. These are strategies that we have been sharing with our community for multiple years now, and these have been adapted to adjust for the changes that we've experienced in the last 6 months. You know, experience is always a way to win the retail game, providing a pleasant shopping experience. But now, as we are operating in the COVID world, health and protection is front of mind. That experience is focused around, do I feel safe and protected when I'm in your store? And that's around sanitizing the store, promoting social distancing. And for those that aren't comfortable visiting your stores in person, how is your online experience? Are you allowing shoppers to easily find what they need to either pick up in your parking lot or have it delivered to their home? When we talk about fundamentals, fundamentals have shifted slightly. There's a new focus around distribution and assortment on shelf. And then omni-channel is key again, because we talked about the number of shoppers that are comfortable making purchases online. And again, when we talk about omni-channel, we have identified that more than 60% of the new entrants into the omni-channel feel comfortable purchasing items from retailers they already know. And they already feel comfortable and know their local grocery store. So the likelihood of them making purchases from you online are higher than a retailer they don't know. So again, understanding the fundamentals of omni-channel is ever more important. Self-care solutions, providing healthcare, education, and assortment and solutions to your shoppers. Again, how do you help them achieve their self-care journey? And then finally, services. We spent some time talking about services and the unique role that we can play today in our stores and offering the demanded services for our retailers. Again, what can you do as a retailer to help your shopper get the healthcare services they need? And manufacturers, how can you enable your retailers to be successful in this area? In my last slide today, I'm going to share with you some highlights of retailers that are winning on these key strategies. And the first is Food Lion around experience. We know that Food Lion is focused on making sure the shopper's aware that Food Lion is taking their health very seriously by sanitizing the buggies for the shoppers as they enter the store. There's a Food Lion employee there ready to ensure that they know that that buggy has been freshly sanitized for their use, signaling again their health and safety and concerns are important to Food Lion. Food Lion has also identified the important role of fresh food and vegetables, and especially at affordable prices during this time, and are signaling to their shoppers that they can go to Food Lion, whether it's an in-store purchase or an online order, to get the fresh food that they desire to keep healthy and safe. When we talk about self-care solutions, Kroger and Allegra D and Iams have partnered around self-care solutions. We know our pets have been more crucial than ever in helping us feel loved and provide mental stability in a time where we feel isolated from the rest of the world. And Allegra D and Iams partnered together to do a cross promotion for those pet owners that suffer from allergies but still need to feed their pets. So again, thinking outside of the box and providing solutions for dog lovers who suffer from allergies. We have also seen success from Hy-Vee around the fundamentals in 4 Ps. Hy-Vee has created a health market that is focused on selling items specifically around self-care and health. And on Wellness Wednesdays, they have a 10% off offering for items purchased from within their health markets. So again, a unique promotional activity against the 4 Ps. Hy-Vee has also ventured down many different services with dietitians in store. And you could see here on the lower left, it's a little bit hard to see, but that's an entrance to an Orange Theory directly from a Hy-Vee store. And then finally on the right around services, we can see that H-E-B is starting to have dietitians in their stores. And again, recognizing the importance of health and nutrition and eating well and the implications on your health. This is a key area of play for many food retailers. H-E-B is one of a handful of retailers that started integrating these health experts into their platforms to serve shoppers better. And then Schnucks identifying that CVS and the leadership they provide in pharmacy is the best way to provide their shoppers with their pharmacy needs. So thank you, Keith, and thank you, Kelly, for allowing me to share some of the key insights that our thought leadership team at ACOSTA has put together from our shopper community. And I'm ready to go ahead and pass it over to you, Kelly.
Thanks, Lacey. We really appreciate ACOSTA's research and your insights into what's taking place during this unusual year. At this time, we're going to go ahead and open up the panel. We've got Mark Latva from Food Lion, Greg Pukas from Sanofi, and of course, Lacey, to tell how we're going to bring some of these trends to life in this changing environment. So the first one I'll throw to Mark. Mark, can you tell us what Food Lion is doing to capitalize on this increased traffic and convert and retain these customers within HBC?
Absolutely. And first of all, Kelly, thank you and GMDC for the invitation to participate. Excited to be here. So as Lacey mentioned previously, the importance of creating a safe environment for customers to shop in, and also mentioned some of the things that we're doing at Food Line to focus on increased safety precautions to provide a shopping experience that customers can trust so they continue to shop with us. And we're excited that more customers are shopping our health and beauty care categories while they're in the store, and we're working diligently with suppliers to meet the increased demand that we're seeing. We also want to make sure that we have the right products for our customers. Lacey mentioned how customer behaviors are changing, and we want to ensure that we have the right assortment to meet their changing needs. And we've reviewed and continue to review our planograms to ensure that they meet the needs of our changing environment. In addition, we have to continue to provide the right value equation. Price is important to our customers, and so we need to ensure that we have the right products at the right price to ensure that they make repeat purchases. So in terms of how vendors can support our efforts, first I'll state the obvious. They can continue to focus on helping us get products on our shelves and get our shelves filled. And also, we mentioned the changing behaviors of our customers, and we're currently gleaning insights from our data, but we also would ask our vendor partners to bring those insights to us as well. Many times our suppliers can provide important insights that will support our changing needs that we may not have seen, so we welcome and encourage their feedback. In addition, they can provide promotional support to help us provide the right value. This is a difficult time for many of our customers, and so providing value is more critical than ever. And also keep in mind that we're an omni-channel retailer. So we have many opportunities to communicate with our customers, whether through print or digital, mass, targeted. So suppliers can support us and our customers through ways that best meet their strategies and our customers' needs, whether that customer is shopping in store or online.
That's great, Mark. And supply chain's definitely been a hot topic this year. And I know Food Line is adept at that with many of the responding to disasters, since you're in the belt of hurricanes as well. Greg, I'll pass it over to you. Based on the trends and channel shifting Lacey spoke about, how is Sanofi adjusting its strategy? Oh, you're on mute still.
Those who know me, it happens all the time. So thanks for the question, Kelly. And actually very similar to Mark's approach at Food Line, after the panic subsided of the increase in demand for our products, we stepped back and recognized that we needed a much more robust demand and supply process in order to predict the future of what the inventory requirements we're going to need to supply our consumer and our retailers, our customers. And so we also, after that, adjusted our manufacturing process to focus much more on our top SKUs and really be able to supply those SKUs that were 80% of our business to make sure that we had a consistent in-stock position across our customer base. The other thing, which may not seem as obvious, but we knew we needed to increase our retail execution presence. At this point in time, it was important to make sure that we were staying on the shelf, that we were in stock, that all the items as simple as a shelf tag stayed up so that the retailer could reorder. We wanted to ensure that we kept our retail presence, of course, as much as possible during that environment where it was very difficult to be in stores. For, as Mark had said, even omni-channel. We always had an omni-channel present across the retail base, but we had to absolutely make sure it was spotless, that the right images were up, the right content was up, and that we were able to communicate and present our items to the consumer, the shoppers, through an omni-channel approach. And last but most important, and Mark had said this as well, which is provide additional value to the shopper, the consumer. It's so important during this time that we don't back off of that we continue to support those SKUs that we're able to keep consistent supply on and make sure that the value is provided to the consumer so they can feel at ease that they can still afford the products that are out there in stock within their preferred retailer.
Well, that's great. And Lacey, I'll turn it over to you. Speaking of retail, the Cost has thousands of representatives in store. How have your activities changed since COVID-19?
Our retail workers were deemed essential workers, and we realize now how essential the work they were doing was to the community. Our retail organization packed out for our clients and our retailers 2.5 million incremental cases of product from March to June alone. And so we know the required and heightened demand of products required extra hands and extra labor on shelf to get product onto the shelves. So case pack out was a primary focus in the beginning of the pandemic. Now we've shifted our focus to ensure distribution is on shelf, authorized distribution. All authorized distribution needs to reclaim its space back on shelf. Mark talked about adjusting planograms, and planogram integrity has become important. So our retail team has been working closely with our shelf management team and our headquarter teams to get the latest planograms and again reclaim shelf space back. I think we know that store labor is going to continue to be strained as we see that increased demand that we didn't predict on e-commerce. You know, we had seen that 5-year boom in 6 months on people feeling comfortable buying online. And so retailers were forced to react quickly and use their labor to fulfill those orders that were coming in. And so our retail team now is even more critical to make sure that distribution is on shelf and the shelves are stocked with the products our shoppers are demanding.
That's great. So Mark, there's a lot of talk these days about another surge in COVID-19. Are you expecting this surge within your stores and/or a difficult cold and flu season? And if so, what are you doing to prepare?
Sure. Well, in short, we're preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. But so far, we're seeing a soft start to what we would call cold and flu season. But of course, health experts are predicting that it may be a difficult cold and flu season for our country. So if that's the case, we're prepared to meet our customers' needs. We do expect the overall sales lift that we've seen to continue for some time. So we're internally building the right inventory levels to meet that elevated demand. We're continuing to firm up our own supply chain to meet that new baseline. And we're also ensuring we have the right staffing levels in our stores and continuing to evaluate that. And we've continued to hire additional resources in our distribution centers as well.
Great. Greg, how is Sanofi looking at its product portfolio and its business to support the growth of self-care? Oh, you're on mute again.
Kelly, I need to connect some of the dots around our perspective, Sanofi's perspective on health and wellness, and where self-care intersects that. But you know, we've always viewed health and wellness at Sanofi as this journey of prevent, treat, and enrich, and the consumer goes through this cycle, and then at some point that it begins to intersect with self-care. And then in the retail environment, the consumer is always looking for solutions, personalization, and education, which I think everybody's talked about for a while. And then an extension of that would be how they enter into this health and wellness arena. And that typically is through some type of condition or a category that they're familiar with or use on quite a basis. We happen to participate in a couple of those, like pain, skincare, and digestive health, that are known gateways into this health and wellness journey. And then comes in self-care. Where does it really intersect with health and wellness? It comes about that 88% of Americans believe that their health is entirely their responsibility. So they are really looking for those solutions, and that will come about through self-assessment. So how can I self-diagnose? Through observation, through maintenance, or some type of ongoing assessment or test that I may do on myself, or just my own innate knowledge through what I read on the internet. Dr. Google can help with that too. And of course, there is the professional assessment. They would go to there. And that's where we really come in. We are working hard at Sanofi to look at this area of self-care, either through technology or by bringing innovative new medicines to market and making them accessible to consumers in new and different ways. So it manifests it a couple ways. It could be these expanded type offerings in different categories that I'm talking about. But it also could be introducing consumer shoppers to products we have today that are new and innovative ways to relieve pain or treat heartburn or simply correct some other type of condition or ailment that they may have that they're unaware of. But it all comes back to what Lacey had stated earlier. It all comes back to diet, exercise, and sleep. So how do we really help consumers to understand where they fit into one of those, how they improve their health? And I've always liked to talk about there's always this continuum of health and wellness. It could be to all the way to one side to the ultimate athlete doing triathlons and other really rigorous types of exercise and strict diets, all the way over maybe to the left-hand side where that consumer just chooses to eat a little bit better today than they did yesterday. So we're looking to support our consumers and our shoppers and work closely with our retail partners, not only to bring innovative medicines to the retail environment, but also to look across that retail environment and see how we can help them actually make the shopping experience new or different or more accessible to the health and wellness consumer.
Right. My continuum is on a week basis. Mondays I'm well behaved, and by Friday it's out the window. Lacey, speaking of intersection, Acosta has a unique position situated between the manufacturers and the CPGs as well as retail. What is Acosta doing to support its customers and clients to build winning self-care strategies?
I think much of what we're doing, I shared a little nugget of it today with my slides on this group about what our shopper community is saying. Again, the number one thing we've been doing at Acosta is really talking to the shopper and understanding their behaviors, specifically around the pandemic, which has involved a high piece around self-care and attitudes towards self-care and behaviors as a result. But in addition to that, we have been fielding exclusive surveys around self-care and asking our shoppers in multiple surveys at different points in time how they were feeling and what they were doing specific to self-care. We are sharing our insights out into the industry. One of the ways we're doing that is through our 10-part series that we were hosting at the beginning of the pandemic, our COVID webinars with retailers, and Colin Stewart did a majority of the presentations of our insights. We've continued those now after that 10-part series, and now they're twice a month. And again, we just had a sharing last week with the latest insights. And so again, sharing that out to our clients and to our retailers so they can make key business decisions. But it's just not about sharing the insights and identifying they're there. We're working with our business managers and our headquarter teams to integrate those insights into their business planning. So as we're representing your brands, we are understanding how the shopper's behaving, how that's influencing what their demand, because that's going to translate to forecasting, that's going to translate to what distribution needs to be on shelf, and down to our shelf management team on getting that right mix on shelf. So those are ways that we are focused on helping our clients and retail partners achieve their goals in self-care. And then finally, I do have to highlight back onto our retail team, because ultimately, if that product's not on shelf, it's hard for the shoppers to purchase it. So our retail team, again, is doing that final step of making sure that those products are on shelf when they're in the store.
Yeah, you guys have done a really nice job with that series and giving that real-time intelligence as well as real-time feedback from your retail team in store. So it's been very helpful through this unusual time. And kind of speaking of unusual time, I'll kind of throw the same question to all of you. We'll start with Mark. What's the biggest change that you're making in 2021 as a result of the learning unusual year?
Well, first I'll start with something that won't change, and that's our focus on the customer and listening to the customer. But with that being said, we've talked about the changing customer behaviors, and so something that's not easy for an organization that's 1,000 plus stores. We're going to be nimble. And so we're going to listen to the customer and adapt and quickly change as needed to meet those customer needs. And the second thing I would say is I can't go without talking about supply chain and our heightened focus on supply chain, looking at our inventory levels to make sure that they're appropriate. We're a lean organization from an inventory perspective. And so we're going back and looking at making sure that we have the right inventory levels on the right items to make sure that we're prepared for any changes in customer demand. And then partnering with suppliers more closely. Going through a crisis like we've been through, the communication that's required has been enormous. And so we've got to keep that transparent communication open. And we'll continue to encourage that as we move into 2021.
That's good. You guys have really put on the accelerator. Haven't pulled back with the announcement of store acquisitions and new store openings. Despite what's going on, you guys have managed it quite well and continue to grow. Greg, what about you? What are the biggest changes that you and Santa Fe are making in 21?
I think a lot of them are a lot of extensions of what we've already begun, and just one, continue to understand our shopper, our consumer, and how their behavior is evolving. There's so much uncertainty now. We have to keep our finger on the pulse and continue to learn about them. Kind of a part B of that is understanding how they continue to define value, right? In this time of high unemployment, remaining isolated, quarantined in a lot of the states, we just have to understand how that is going to redirect their behaviors, particularly around value. And last, as Mark had said too, which is our supply chain. We need to continue to have a robust supply chain to keep up with the demand, adjust our manufacturing strategies to make sure they're aligned to what the consumers are purchasing in order to supply our customers, our retailer partners.
Ambitions to grow with the new innovation coming out and continue to accelerate in 21. And Lacey, finally over to you. What are the changes that Acosta is making in 21?
We're making several changes, but there's three I'd like to really focus on that are really shifts based on the industry and how it's operating today. And really, one of the key things is recognizing that the historic fundamentals have shifted. The 4 Ps have all new nuances to them in this new COVID world. For example, assortment is no longer about variety, and many times it's about having that core product on the shelf and having the right number of days of supply. Clean floors and limited promotions have limited the number of displays that are on the floor. So again, making sure shelving is shining more than it has had to do in the past. I mean, everyday shelving has become more important than ever without displays to help move products. I think another key focus that Acosta is doing is recognizing that rapid shift to e-commerce, and we're investing in omni-channel, a multi-million-dollar investment. Getting a new dedicated team, training our existing organization to understand and operate in the new e-commerce omni-channel world that we're competing in, and helping our clients and our retailers along the way as well, because it is new for many of us. And the last thing I think, when I think about looking ahead and recognizing where we've come in the last 6 months, and many of our retail partners and a lot of our brands that we represent have new users, new shoppers in our doors, new people purchasing our brands. And how do we retain that? That's a question I hear in talking to our clients and doing joint business planning with our headquarter teams, is how do we keep these shoppers that we won during the pandemic purchasing our brands in the future? So we recognize that will be an important objective for our partners on both sides, retailers for keeping those shoppers and that they have converted in categories they may not have converted in the past. And again, helping our brand partners retain those shoppers that have maybe in their homes for the first time. So looking ahead to some happy and exciting challenges for the future.
Yeah, absolutely important. Well, first, I'd like to thank GMDC for this opportunity, and then also the panel. So Mark from Food Lion, Greg from Santa Fe, and Lacey from Acosta, thank you very much for your time and sharing your insights with us. Keith, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Kelly. And, I'd like to thank this whole group for some great discussion on, I think what we all have said at the beginning, this is unique times, unprecedented times, but also unique times within the self-care space and the opportunity as far as what's happening there. More importantly, it's great to hear, I think, everybody's focused on the consumer. And I think that's what leads back to the term self-care in itself, is consumers themselves want to take care of themselves. They're going through unique perspectives at the same time. So a great discussion. I'd also like to thank everybody. Lacey, thank you for, and you from the Acosta team for participating today, and especially the insights you bring to the industry. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
Mark, I know your time's been busy over these last few months, since March especially, and I appreciate you taking the time today to participate in this discussion, and also the whole Food Lion team. I think that what the grocery industry and food industry has done to support the consumers during this time has been unprecedented. So thank you and all the associates at Food Lion. And then finally, the Santa Fe team, Greg and Kelly, thank you for all the work you do, especially pulling this together. Santa Fe's been a great supporter of the industry in GMDC. Kelly sits on the Health, Beauty, Wellness Advisory Council at GMDC. They've been a long-time supporter and being involved with the industry. We thank you for your leadership and support of both GMDC and the industry as a whole.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy a great day, and thanks again to the great panel.
Thank you.